Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. This is Straightforward with Ms.B, episode 73. Thank you again for tuning in. As we always do, grab your vices, sit back, relax, and let's get straight to it. Today, I wanted to utilize this podcast episode to definitely get into the most recent, explosive, sit down conversation between Shannon Sharp on his Club Shay Shay podcast as he interviewed um, Oscar winning actress and stand up comedian MoNique. That was definitely a very eye opening interview. And I wanted to just get into it a little bit today. But before we begin, there's a couple of things that did happen since our last episode that I want to just touch bases on real quickly. And of course, one of those things is our annual Grammys award show that recently happened. I would say I didn't watch the entire episode, award show. However, I've heard that it was a pretty good award show, thinking about the people who won awards as well as the performances. I know that the Fantasia tribute to Tina Turner was definitely a standout performance as well. There was several people who had comments to say about, I believe it was Travis Scott and Playboy Cardi's performance of his song, of Travis's song Fiend. That was, like I said, the young people enjoyed it versus, I would say, the older generation, such as, podcaster Joe Button has some criticisms for it as well. I think personally, it is what it is. It's either it's your type of thing or it's not your type of thing. I'm a Travis Scott fan. I've never really listened to Playboy Cardi, but I am a Travis fan. Always been since the beginning of his career. Fiend is a pretty dope song. Probably his highest charting, most successful song off of that Utopia album. So I'm glad he did get the opportunity to perform, although he didn't take away any rap awards at the Grammys this year. Um, I'm sure he was grateful that he, also had the opportunity to at least perform his chart topping single. But hey, different strokes for different folks. Um, let's see what else happened. As far as like awardees, you had the Taylor Swift situation. She came out on top. She won Album of the Year. Um, which she, of course, again, Beyonce was kind of snubbed on that award. I believe Beyonce has what, maybe 35, 36 Grammy Awards total, but not one of them is for Album of the Year. I believe at some point throughout her career, solo career thus far, she should have had an Album of the Year award. So I definitely I'm in agreement with Jay-Z on this one. Some people may feel as though, okay, well, does she feel a bit entitled? I mean, hey, she does have 36 Grammy awards. However, it's like shit, the album of the year is the top dog, most coveted award at the Grammys award show. So, every artist would like to be that person. And I believe, Beyonce is definitely deserving of that. I guess they still kind of just save face and still attend the award ceremony. There are a lot of, I would say, more hip hop based artists who have just basically just kind of like turned their backs on the Grammys because, they just feel some type of way about, people not winning when they're supposed to, or feel as though they're supposed to be winners. Um, so I mean, hey, I guess they have justifiable reasons there. But, like I said, Beyonce and Jay-Z definitely still kind of, still act with much grace and classiness by attending the Grammy Awards, even though they may not necessarily, get the awards that they feel as though they deserve. Um, but it's good to see that they still just take the time out of their busy schedules to attend the award ceremony. Jay-Z was actually accepting his Global Impact Award. I believe it's called the Dr. Dre Global Impact Award. And he was the honoree for this year's Grammys. So congratulations to him. Um, what else has happened? Taylor Swift, she won. Like I said, she did win. But the fact that Celine Dion, who we know is suffering from a rare disease, I believe it's called stiff body disease, she was able to make an appearance, and she was the person that actually, presented the Album of the Year award to Taylor Swift. And knowing that she has this illness and still able to make time to come out and be healthy enough to present this to Taylor, Taylor kind of snubbed her a little bit. You know what I'm saying? She came out there without even hugging Celine Dion. She just kind of took the award out of her hand and, started her speech. And a lot of people felt as though that was a little bit shady. It probably, more than likely, it was not intentional. However, the optics of it, watching it on TV or streaming, the award show, it just did not look good. Rumor has it is that, after Taylor Swift gave her speech and behind the scenes, they say that, PR teams were trying to rush to make sure that Taylor and Celine took a photo, just to kind of, act as damage control for that. But yeah, Taylor, I mean, sometimes we have to just stop and appreciate the person who even present the awards to us. 9 times out of 10, most times the person that, especially for the top awards, the person that they choose to present those awards are normally somebody either maybe have close relationships to the artist that's winning it, or someone who's maybe had an impact on their career at some point, things of that nature. So um Celine didn't have to necessarily be there, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that she was there, the least Taylor Swift could have done was give the lady a hug. You know what I'm saying? Shake her hand, give her a hug, a kiss on the cheek, something. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, I'm glad to see SZA. She won. Most definitely shout out to the ATL, our very own, someone who grew up on the same side of town as I, Adamsville, which is on the west side of Atlanta. Shout out and big congratulations to Killer Mike. Shout out to Killer. He took home 3 awards. I believe it was Rap Album of the Year, Best Rap Album, Best Rap Performance, and it was one other one. I can't think of the name. I think it was for uh shit, I don't know. It was 3 of them, but shout out to Killer Mike. Unfortunately though, right after he accepted his award backstage, he was arrested. It come to find out later on, he did take to social media to explain that there was a situation that happened with one of the security guards who was, at the event location. Apparently, the security guard, he says that it was with his team, they were a little bit confused as to what entrance they are supposed to go through. And he ended up, I guess, their team, Killer and his team, basically kind of got into it to an argument and whatnot. I don't know if hands was laid or something, but something transpired to the point where they felt as though they had to call the police, law enforcement, and put the man in handcuffs. That wasn't needed. Sometimes, although it may seem as though stereotypically, they feel as though if it's a black man, especially a rap artist, in those situations that, hey, that person may be aggressive or don't know how to act or whatever, but hey, Killer Mike is not that type of person. Although he comes from the mean streets of Atlanta, he does conduct himself in a very poised, professional manner. As you know, he's an activist as well. He's been around many politicians, Bernie Sanders, of course, mayors and city councilmen and things of that nature. And the man got some dignity of himself. He know how to act. So you did not have to put Killer Mike in some handcuffs now. That just did not make any sense to me whatsoever. It humiliated him. You know what I'm saying? And it was definitely embarrassing. And I'm sure his situation was not that severe to the point where they felt as though they needed to put this man in handcuffs at the ceremony. It's like, come on, this could have been taken care of after the ceremony. They could have maybe sent the police to his hotel, you know what I'm saying, where he was staying to do all of this. They didn't have to, do this at the backstage of the Grammys. That was just some bullshit. And yeah, LA, Los Angeles County Police Department, you guys need to do better. I think that Killer Mike is set to have to go back to LA and appear in court, I believe at the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully everything will be fine. Whatever it was, is considered a misdemeanor. So if he has to pay a small fine of some sort, let that be. But I'm sure it just wasn't that type of situation at all. Let's see. Anybody else that's standing out to me at this time in regards to the Grammys? No, like I said, I did not pay attention to the I didn't watch the entire episode. I mean, yeah, episode of the Grammys, this year's Grammys. So I don't have a full in-depth recap. As far as like the fashions go, no one really stood out to me either when it comes to the fashion. So hey, it is what it is. All right. Let's see what else has happened before I get into this MoNique thing. Uh, let's see. Okay. In regards to this whole Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj situation, we utilized episode 2072 of this podcast to discuss that. So if you guys haven't checked out that episode, definitely go back and search for it. And it seems as though Megan Thee Stallion came out on top. Her song "His" landed at number one, and yeah, shout out to Megan. This was definitely a celebratory moment for Megan. She did take to her IG live to, just kind of celebrate. She had the Henny bottle with a straw in it. Um, as you know, Nicki Minaj kind of pointed that out. She had a little bar in her diss record in regards to, Henny with the straw, and Megan just kind of like, hey, yeah, bitch, I can drink a Henny with a straw. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing little bit of shade back. But yeah, she took to her live, and she just talked about how, she was so excited for this number one. I believe this may be the first time she's had a solo number one that hit the Billboard charts. She also spoke about, um, being independent and basically, coming out of her own pocket to produce her videos, and pay for studio time and everything that's, involved in that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very, very, very proud of Megan Thee Stallion. I'm not a super Megan Thee Stallion fan, neither am I of Nicki Minaj. However, I could give credit where credit is due, and I think that we should definitely just applaud Megan for being able to, work independently and being able to put out, great products that she have with Cobra and her single Hiss, and Hiss being successful. So shout out to Megan in regards to that. All right. let's get into this Club Shay Shay interview with MoNique. As we know, it's been going on a decade that comedian MoNique has, um, allegedly, well, I won't say allegedly, she clearly has a disdain when it comes to Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry. I believe she has kind of squashed the beef with Tyler and Lee Daniels. But that beef with Oprah Winfrey is still lingering. In this particular episode of Club Shay Shay, it was a very long interview. However, it was a good interview. So shout out to Shannon Sharp. He's been knocking it out of the park since the Cat Williams interview. Knocking it out of the park with these great interviews. And so shout out to him in regards to these. But excuse me. She took the opportunity to just kind of speak on just what she's been going through. Of course, we've kind of heard these things before. But I think the fact that, Taraji P. Henson recently came out while promoting the Color Purple film slash musical, and Taraji, just airing out some of her grievances in regards to things that she had to endure about, inequality when it comes to how much she's paid as a one of the top black actresses in Hollywood, as well as some of the treatment that, she kind of received during filming The Color Purple. MoNique took that opportunity to kind of piggyback off of Taraji's sentiments to continue to drag Oprah Oprah Winfrey. During this discussion, but before we get into that, of course, she talked about her childhood. Shannon asked about that. I think the reasoning he did that was just trying to get a better understanding of MoNique and why she seems to just have these gripes, you know what I'm saying, and complaints when it comes to um her journey in Hollywood. It's a lot of times when a person feel some type of way and you see them continuing on ranting about the same thing over and over and over. Sometimes a person's the way that they was brought up, in their childhood, maybe how their parents and siblings may have treated them, sometimes can affect us emotionally, mentally as well, which in turn, going from being a child into growing into adulthood, we can carry that trauma with us. And I think that Shannon was really trying to see if there could be some type of correlation there with her childhood and how she kind of feels and deals with things nowadays, that now that she's 50 plus something adult, you know what I'm saying? So but MoNique basically, in this, she piggybacked off of when it comes to Oprah Winfrey thing. Taraji had this interview, right? And like I said, she talked about just how her treatment was, and I believe Taraji at some point, kind of broke down crying and all or whatever. She said that her and Taraji actually had a conversation about 10 years ago. She said that Taraji and I had a conversation about a decade in my trailer when she was doing the MoNique show. She said, you got to keep getting it until your turn comes. That's what I guess either Taraji told her that. And then MoNique says she responded to Taraji, most of us die before our turn comes. We got to ask for it right now. So she said, now I understand that because there was a time I felt the same way because that's what I was told. Shannon asked MoNique why she thinks she didn't receive, the same public support as Henson. And MoNique said it wasn't the message, it was the messenger, right? She said, I should be grateful I got invited to the party because You're a big fat black woman. How dare you be the one? So essentially, she's just saying that, hey, Taraji is a thinner person, maybe lighter skinned person. I guess overall, in the public's eye, of what we conceive to be beauty in Hollywood, Taraji more so felt that description. I mean, uh, was that description of what that person would be versus MoNique. Here she comes. She's the bigger person. She's the darker woman. You know what I'm saying? So how her, with the outside world or people in Hollywood feeling as though, hey, she doesn't necessarily fit the mold. How dare you be the person that's questioning us? Or you know what I'm saying? How dare you even have those sentiments, share those sentiments? And then MoNique said on top of that, she was calling out people's names. You know what I'm saying? She was being straightforward and direct. She quote unquote said, "You're saying Oprah's name out loud. You're saying Tyler's name out loud. You're saying Lee's name out loud. You're saying Lionsgate out loud. That's not what we do. We normally say the word they. We say, quote unquote, the people. We say the studio. We say the producers. How dare you actually say our heroes' names? These are our heroes. How could you say their names out loud?" So, like Cat Williams, in his interview, MoNique, she basically kind of aired out the top people in Black Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Um, and basically suggesting that, hey, there probably was some tension between Taraji P. Henson and Oprah Winfrey, during the Color Purple thing, despite both of them kind of denying it or whatever the case may be. So as we all know, MoNique has had it out with Oprah for quite some time, she's never really changed her story. If you've been listening to her over the years, um, many believe that, hey, her issue kind of stems from, uh, excuse me, MoNique alleging that she was blackballed by Oprah Winfrey after declining to do some unpaid international promotion for the movie Precious, which came out in 2009. The relationship between Oprah and MoNique has been strained ever since then. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Tyler Perry, Lee Daniels also were producers on that project. I believe, well, Lee Daniels, he may have had a couple of dollars into it, but I think he was more so directing that film. Um, they were thrown into, this whole feud as well. But they later on apologized. Well, Lee Daniels actually apologized to MoNique, and those two were able to get connected via T.S. Madison, whom shares, mutual friendships with both of them. As for Tyler Perry, in 2022, MoNique actually recorded a phone conversation that took place after their decade-long rift. Tyler Perry basically reportedly said he intended to publicly apologize to MoNique as long as her husband Sidney Hicks wasn't involved, and as long as she apologized to him and Oprah Winfrey over her blackball allegations. On Club Shay Shay, MoNique insinuated that Winfrey made an example out of her when allegedly preventing her from taking on consistent acting work after the movie Precious came out. She stated, quote unquote, "We acted like our eyes didn't see what it saw when we watched that promotion happen with The Color Purple." MoNique said, "We wanted to act like we didn't see how Oprah Winfrey treated Taraji. MoNique also, she talked about Winfrey and Henson standing awkwardly together in a promotional appearance of Color Purple, and not to really go back on Color Purple, but she just continued. She utilized the Taraji situation to kind of help with her stance, a little bit. We get it, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, okay, we understand that, hey, Oprah Winfrey could possibly be a shady character. We don't know for sure or not. You know what I'm saying? Only people who deal with Oprah may know how she handled things. So it was a little bit. It's almost like, MoNique, why take the opportunity to use Taraji? Use Taraji um situation to add on to your gripe against Oprah. Just stand on business on your own shit. That's one thing that I didn't necessarily like about this interview. It's like, MoNique, stand on your own shit. You don't have to utilize other people's situations and put it with yours to kind of elevate, you know what I'm saying? Elevate how you feel towards Oprah. You didn't, that was unnecessary. You could have just touched on it for a second and left it alone. But it is what it is, child. Um Again, MoNique used the opportunity. Also, she just talked about the Netflix situation. Remember, she spoke against Netflix because they were offering Amy Schumer a more lucrative contract than hers, so she ended up she ended up suing Netflix. And In 2022, the two were able to settle, and she did put out a stand up special on Netflix. It was all right, not too much fanfare in regards to that, but I'm glad she was able to, I'm glad that Netflix was able to kind of recognize their unfair treatment, and MoNique was able to get a couple of dollars, out of that. And for those of you who have not seen that stand up special, it's called My Name is MoNique on Netflix, which was released last March. So you guys can definitely go back and check that out. Let's see. She also had something to say in regards to an incident with DL Hughley. She talked about, she did Tiffany Haddish. So crazy, man. Let me play y'all this Tiffany Haddish one. This shit was crazy. Hold on.
Tiffany Haddish did an interview with GQ magazine, and this, in my humble opinion, is where we keep throwing each other under the bus. You're doing an interview with GQ magazine, and I'm assuming the journalist was a white person. And the conversation turned to MoNique. And she said, well, I don't do business like MoNique do business, and I'm glad I don't have that husband of hers.
But she don't know your husband.
And when I saw that, it's like, Tiffany, if you had a husband like mine, you may not have 2 DUIs. If you had a husband like mine, you may not be caught up in what looks like you could have been grooming a child. And I say all of that with no judgment.
Baby.
But when you speak about having a husband like mine, you open up the door. And I'm saying to you, if you had one like mine, you may not sit in these positions that you can't explain the next day.
Right.
Or it's a hard way to go. So once again...
Well, she doesn't even have a husband, let alone like yours.
Well, damn it now. You said it. I sipped on that, Shannon. That was a sip.
Baby, Shannon had to add his 2 cents in there. I was cracking up. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. She went in. She went in. I tell you, that shade that was thrown at Tiffany Haddish by MoNique is well justified. I don't know you guys if you've been listening to the podcast. I'm not the biggest. I'm not really a fan of Tiffany Haddish at all. Um, so I'm appreciative of the shade that shit that MoNique threw at her. Like, baby, you don't even have a husband, so how you gonna talk about mine? If you had a husband like mine, child, first of all, you wouldn't have got a DUI. If you had a husband like mine, you wouldn't have be accused of grooming. You hear me, sis? I'm sure Tiffany probably gonna have something to say in regards to that, but she got her together. I'm trying to find the one that she talked about. Let me see. I'm gonna find it for you guys real quick. The Kevin Hart situation. Let me see if I can find it. MoNique, I tell you, MoNique said, "Baby." Okay. Dang, I can't find the Kevin Hart one. I can't find the Kevin Hart clip that I wanted to play. Okay, no. And I ain't really studying the DL Hughley one. Basically what she was saying about Kevin Hart was that at some point he was supposed to help her I guess, kind of be a financial backer or whatnot, or help her produce like a talk show. Once she kind of got back on her feet or whatever the case may be, because she did state that, financially she took a huge, huge hit, after being quote unquote allegedly blackballed. But yeah, she spoke about Kevin Hart saying he wanted to help her, blah, blah, blah. And then some white man kind of came between them, basically saying don't work with her. She said that Kevin Hart never called her back after that. She said that was maybe like 2-3 years ago. Dang, I want to find that clip. Tags. Okay, here it is. Let me see.
Yes.
Kevin Hart. I do his podcast.
Yes.
And I want y'all to re-listen to the podcast so you can hear it for yourself. When he first comes on, he says, "You're like my mother. You're like my aunt. You're like my sister." Okay? Then we do the podcast. We speak about the Tyler Perry situation. Oprah Winfrey, he said, "I don't really know Oprah, but I'm going to reach out to Tyler." I appreciate that. Kevin kept his word. He reached out to Tyler Perry. Kevin Hart called me back about maybe a week or so later. He said, "Mo, I talked to Tyler. He said he don't want to revisit it." He said, "But I tell you what, let's move past that, Mo. Let's just move past that and let's just do great things." So whatever
That's what Kevin said.
I want you to hear me, Kevin Hart. Let's move past that, Mo. Let's do some great things together. Don't even worry about it. Whatever y'all want to do, I will partner with you. I'll executive produce with you. Pat Williams said gatekeepers.
Yes.
Kevin Hart. I do his podcast.
Yes.
So let me know what you want to do. Now, let me say that before we go any further, because I want to make sure I give Kevin Hart his proper credit. When my family was up against the wall, Kevin Hart wrote us a check and said, "Here you go." We're forever grateful for that. When we were able to give it back, we said, "Brother, we appreciate you," with some interest on top, because I don't ever want nobody to think
Feel like they
me and my
gave us-
husband. So I want to make sure I put that out there. That brother really helped us out when we needed to be helped out.
Good
Then
for
when he
you,
came
Kevin.
back with, "I got you," I didn't ask Kevin Hart to do anything. He said, I'll executive produce, I'll partner with you. I said, good shit, Kevin, because we're in a deal with Endemol and we're trying to get our talk show back. Mo, whatever it is, I got you. Now, Kevin Hart is one of the biggest entertainers right now in the world,
Correct.
right? And was then. We got off the phone with Kevin Hart. We called Endemol immediately and said, Kevin Hart said, whatever we want to do, he got us. He's going to partner, executive use. They was like, oh, this is incredible because when you let me know what you want to do. Kevin Hart name on it, you already know what it is.
Correct.
2 weeks go by. We get a call from Endemol. Endemol says, we just got a call from Kevin Hart's manager, Dave Becky. And Dave Becky said, Kevin doesn't want anything to do with MoNique. So whatever she told y'all, he doesn't want to do anything with her, nothing. You know, he doesn't want any kind of relationship with MoNique.
So what changed between the 2 weeks and plus he gave you a check, you gave the money back, then said he would partner with you, executive produce,
Kevin
whatever
Hart,
you
you
need,
flipped
Mo,
out.
hey, we got you.
Switched on Mo.
So what transpired, or what do you think transpired between then that 2 week period?
Well, soon as we got off the phone and they told us what Kevin's manager, David Becky, said, I called Kevin Hart immediately. I said, hey, baby, we just got off the phone with Endemol, and they said Dave Becky called them up and said, you don't want anything to do with me. He said, Mo, that's a miscommunication. I can tell you right now. I said, wait a minute. Are you okay, though, with this white man calling them up? Getting them Kevin Hart name on it? You already know what it is.
Correct.
2 weeks go by. We get a call from Endemol. Endemol says, we just got a call from Kevin Hart's manager, Dave Becky. And Dave Becky said, Kevin doesn't want anything to do with MoNique. In our relationship, after something you said, he said, Mo, that's a miscommunication, and we're going to talk Tuesday. Don't worry about it. I'm telling you right now, it's a miscommunication. That was 2 years ago. If you talk to him, I talk to him. I've never talked back to Kevin Hart again. So that's what we're faced with. When you allow somebody to come in between a relationship with a woman that you said, I'm like your mother. You said I'm like these things. I didn't ask you for that. So everything that baby was saying sitting here, everything he was saying was on the up and up. Because when you hear people say, get the anger out your heart. Oh, man, no one's saying he's lying. No one ever said I was lying. Our relationship, after something you said, he said, Mo, that's a miscommunication, and we're going to talk.
Dang, MoNique. And that's the situation that happened with Kevin Hart. Well, we all know Kevin Hart is going to be on the side of white. We know that. He is going to be on the side of white. He going to play the Hollywood game. So it's unfortunate, MoNique, that he flip-flopped on you. It's really unfortunate. The shit he was saying was gassing you up. I guess Kevin Hart felt like, okay, well, at least I could do, if I can't really help her on the work projects, financially they struggling, let me go ahead and cut her a check, help her out, give her a couple of dollars. That'll be something done on the low, whatever the case may be. MoNique's family was appreciative of that. She said they paid him back in interest, and that was cool. But publicly, he couldn't be seen with her. And that's fucked up. I tell you the truth, black people, man, y'all it's so crazy because MoNique's situation is something that even regular day-to-day 9-to-5 people have to struggle with on their jobs, especially in corporate America. For those of you who work in corporate America or once did have experience in, politics is run just like that on jobs. It don't even have to be a corporate America, but just jobs in general. When there's people that are in power or above you, you're going to have to play the game to some extent if you plan on getting promotions or being recognized by the higher ups, moving up the corporate ladder, whatever you may be, getting the larger salary. You're just going to have to play a certain game. And it just seems as though with this MoNique situation, she is, I don't think, well, it just seems like she doesn't necessarily want to play that game. She just want to be straight up and down. Her credentials that she's rightfully earned, she feel as though she should be compensated, whether it's financially through her salary or as well as her projects that she's been given as far as roles and things of that nature. She just want to be on the same playing field. However, sometimes in order to achieve those things, I'm sure even in Hollywood, you're going to have to be a lot less abrasive in your approach with that. You know, it's easy to see why, I guess, her peers feel as though she may be hard to work with, because naturally she comes off as kind of aggressive, and on top of that, she just happened to be a black big boned, woman, heavy set woman, which doesn't necessarily make it any better, and it shouldn't be used against her. But the reality of the situation is, in Hollywood, it is used against you, or even on some corporate jobs, it could be used against you. We hear of, you can go on TikTok, you can see all, come across on your For You pages of women who work in corporate America who may be black, just always talking about, how we're seen to be aggressive, when that most times is not really the case. It's just maybe how we talk. It could be our tone. That's just, a lot of us are just naturally that way. You know what I'm saying? I can even say that to myself, for myself. In some instances, I may sound as though I'm a little bit more aggressive in my speech when I'm speaking to certain audiences. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not necessarily that way, but unfortunately, when I speak, it just comes out that way. But on the flip side of that, even with me having corporate experience, I know when to pull it back. I know certain things that should be said or shouldn't be said, you know? And I've had to learn that over the years. It's not something that I automatically out of college went to get a corporate job and I knew how to play the game. No, I had to kind of learn that over the years. And so with MoNique, it's a shame that even at her age, I believe she's 56, that she has yet to learn that. Or if she knows that, she refuses to play by that game. So MoNique has to, at this point, I feel as though she needs to pick her battles better instead of, because she sees that it's especially Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey really haven't come out publicly and just really sat down and talk about their frustrations with MoNique, if there is any frustrations. I think that MoNique should have been handling it the same way. Keep it behind the scenes. Don't necessarily keep talking about it publicly. Then maybe there would have been an opportunity for her to be able to sit down with Tyler and Oprah, or at least, if not in person, got on a 3-way call. But the call's probably out the door now, since she, was known to have recorded Tyler. So they probably do not ever want to speak to her on the phone again. You know what I'm saying? But at least maybe a FaceTime or a video call, at least. You know what I'm saying? Behind the scenes. So I feel as though MoNique, although she is justified in her wanting fair treatment and her not wanting to feel as though she's being blackballed and still be given opportunities, for certain roles and things of that nature. I feel as though she's okay to think that and want to feel that way. But on the flip side of that, I do feel as though MoNique need to try a different approach. If one approach isn't working, try a different approach. But at the end of the day, hey, sometimes there has to be somebody who takes the charge. You have the Cat Williams. You know what I'm saying? You have MoNique. Sometimes you're going to have the Kanye Wests. You have those type of individuals who's going to take the charge. You know what I'm saying? And be the person who speaks out against systems that they feel as though is continuing to oppress them or oppress our community, the black community. So maybe she's, willing to be the face of that. And if she is, hey, that's fine and dandy. But whatever the backlash or consequences that may come afterwards, she has to be able to accept that, because that's what's going to happen. So if that means not getting certain movie roles, or if that means losing out on millions of dollars, that's just part of the consequences. And if her and her husband, I don't necessarily want to speak on him, because hey, she got a husband, I ain't got no husband, but hopefully her and her husband have come to grips with that hey, if we gonna stand on this hill by ourselves, so be it. We just got to be willing to do what we got to do. You know what I'm saying? Because the money ain't going to be necessarily rolling in like we think it is, or the jobs, So that's my thoughts on MoNique. How do you guys feel? Definitely leave comments. Let me know how you feel about this situation. I pray for her still. Anybody who's in the industry who have to deal with certain things. It's just unfortunate that, hey, yeah, we're going to have people of our same skin tone, black people who are going to be on the side of white. They're going to play the game. And you can guarantee that those individuals, when it's time for them to stand up for you or anybody else in the community or help out or whatever the case may be, most times they probably will not. So that's just something that us as blacks or minorities just in general, that we just need to come to grips with. It's not right, but it is what it is. All right. So much for this episode. Thank you again for tuning in to episode 73. We may piggyback on this next week as well. We'll see. But until next time, we're on all streaming platforms as usual. All social media platforms. Just check us out. Straightforward with your girl, Ms.B. And until next time, peace out.